Welcome to the Sales Lead Dog Podcast, hosted by CRM technology and sales process expert Christopher Smith, talking with sales leaders that have separated themselves from the rest of the pack. Listen to find out how the best of the best achieve success with their team and CRM technology. And remember, unless you are the lead dog, the view never changes.
Welcome to Sales Lead Dog. My guest for today is Ryan Goldberg, who goes by Goldie. Ryan is the head of sales for National Enrollment Partners. Goldie, welcome to Sales Lead Dog.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, excited to talk to you. Tell me a bit about National Enrollment Partners.
Sure. So we are in the employee benefits industry. We are not insurance brokers or a carrier. We are a managed services company. So one of my partners started the company back in 2018, and it was really meant to be kind of an enrollment company for other carriers that helped enroll employees in their benefits and help better educate them. But over time, it evolved, and it was initially kind of like a franchise model of different local organizations that did this, that kind of revenue shared for resources. And what happened was over that time, they became close and they found synergies and partnerships. And they said, you know what if we became one P&L? And that's around, let's say, 2023 when I came on board. And it was ironic, especially in a call like this. We knew who we were internally, but we struggled with our professional identity. And you might find this in other people you've spoken to, that they'll tell you what they do, but then they say they also do this. We're an enrollment company, but we also do GA services, or we also do technology services. And eventually I'm like, guys, this is clunky. We don't also do anything. What do? We need an all-inclusive phrasing that can firmly establish a professional identity, even if we're inventing something new. That happens all the time. So that's how our managed services company was born. So we have many business units that operate independently of each other, each generating significant revenue. And we basically work with employee benefit brokers, especially ones that go through acquisition. And anytime you go through acquisition, you need to learn how to do more with less. So how do you learn how to do more with less? You work with a company like ours, who is literally designed to be infrastructure for you. So whether it's scaling your technology practice, or your quoting services for insurance products, or helping to navigate employee education. Anyone could say, well, we could do that ourselves. But once it gets to a point in your business, there's this law of diminishing returns. So at what point do you reach your plateau as a core business and decide it now makes sense to cost share and revenue share with somebody else so we can continue to grow and be profitable? And in the employee benefit space, that's what NEP is.
Yeah. And I mean, I totally get it, because at some point you got to stick to what's your core business, and to continue the growth cycle. A lot of times it becomes very hard and complex to take on these other things and get them to the point where, like, you guys can already deliver.
Correct. And I think for some entrepreneurs, whether it's a private company or when they took public, there is this element of they feel like it's a sign of weakness to ask for help. Like if they don't do everything themselves and everything is internal, that it is a flaw in their organization, where I see it as a strength. In the modern world, who isn't cost sharing and revenue sharing with some other business to grow in any shape or form? I think it's just a matter of understanding your business and having the business acumen to find the right partners that you can trust, and where it is overlap makes sense, and where are we aligned, and how do we all work together in the market to grow our respective businesses. I think it's a sign of strength.
No, I love it. I love it. Goldie, when you look back over your career, boiling it down to three things, what are the three things that have really driven and led to the success you've achieved?
I mean, that's a really good question. Look, I think I would be naive to say that there's always an element of luck and success and timing. I was very blessed to be surrounded by, they weren't formal mentors or role models, but there were always people around me, either above me or alongside me, that had qualities I sought to attain. And I learned very quickly that the best ones talk about empathy, their ability to relate to people, just to never stop being a student. Some of the most successful people I've ever met just there's nothing more tedious than being the smartest person in the room. Like, how can they continue to learn and grow? And how fascinating is it to learn something new or meet the kind of person that you've never thought even existed? Like, you think everyone and everything, then all of a sudden you're at a networking event, you're blown away by some new, unique kind of personality. So there's just like this element of, it doesn't matter how smart you are, if nobody likes you.
Right.
Never stop being a student. And then there's something that really stuck with me, that there's this erroneous belief with people that talk about, oh, I could be in sales. It's almost like people who are really good at sales and say, I should have been an attorney, right? Because they look at it as you're convincing somebody to do something. And it's just such a mistake, in my opinion. I always felt like the best producers had such a command over the content that they can explain the same thing 12 different ways with such clarity, sincerity, and confidence that it sells itself. The person just gets there. And it takes patience. But in a sales model, which are most sales models that survive by repeat business, tapping into behavior is much stickier than tapping into emotion. And that's something you could say, I wish I learned that at a younger age, but I don't think people in their early 20s are mature enough to understand what that means. So those things could have probably were said to me at that age. I just wasn't ready to hear them. And luckily, because of those people I was surrounded with, it finally did click. And I think it's been incredibly helpful in my career, because those are also very transferable skills. You don't have to be the smartest person or the most charismatic person or the funniest person. So a sales leader that understands those principles, that's fairly achievable to instill into a younger generation of salespeople.
Yeah. Did you always envision a career in sales?
I mean, it kind of happened by accident, like most people do. I think it was, I was looking to get into business, economics, and like a funny story. So I had this job. I mean, everyone knows the show Mad Men. So like right out of school, I was working kind of in advertising, not on the creative side. That was my dream to always be on the creative side, but I was kind of on the sales, kind of market research side. So when I left, my father and grandfather always made fun of me. They said, so your whole job is taking a bunch of people out to lunch to get the largest share of the Mercedes budget? That's not sales. So I left to prove a point, and I'm in New York City.
Yeah.
And I go and get a job at this like tchotchke toy company. I don't even know. I barely remember the name. It was this Canadian company, all outside sales. I literally rolled around a suitcase filled with picture frames, plush, candles, and luggage. Like They sold luggage, and rolled around the city, going like to literally to storefronts.
Yeah.
These people are paying $60,000, $70,000 a month in rent in New York.
Yeah.
But I'm going to sell them luggage.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I have to do this long enough to earn their respect. Fast forward one day, I never had a pet. I'm in a pet store and it smelled. And I just said, this smells. He goes, yes, it's a pet store. I go, well, how come you don't sell candles? Candles smell nice. This store smells terrible. So right before the guy threw me out, he goes, I don't know. Why would I sell candles? I'm like, here. So I had samples, and I gave him these little tins. They look like Zins, like the little chewing tobacco.
Yeah.
So they put them on the counter. I said, just take. I'm rolling around this giant piece of luggage. So I did a lap through the neighborhood a week later, and the guy saw me, and he goes, hey, we came in. He goes, I need more. I gave them away. Like everyone wanted them. So then I got rid of everything and just became an expert in candles. I literally was like a candle rep and just went to every pet store in the city, positioning counter easel, because there was no room on the shelves, but they had room on the counter. It was an impulse buy, like having a pack of gum at CVS.
Yeah.
And I became this candle rep, completely crushed, cleaned out their entire inventory of candles. I started going to Italian restaurants and saying, what kind of a wax is this? Is what a blend? Is it a 3 1/4 inch cotton wick? And all of a sudden became an expert on anything and how it burns evenly.
Right.
Did it long enough to earn their respect. And then I went from there to this incredibly other engineering, like brokering engineering deals. And that was long sales cycles. It could take almost a year to close a deal. So I did all of these little things to just, and it was like going back to college. So it became this unbelievable, unbeknownst to me, sales experience that helped me later in life to learn high pressure deals, how to think on your feet, how to have patience for longer sales cycles, how to have like substance. What do you do when you have a prospect where you still have to be in front of them, but it could take a year to a year and a half to close the deal?
Yep.
And you're not realizing in real time. It's until you're having a conversation like this, because I'm having all this wild memory recall right now about things that I haven't thought about in over a decade, but they're all in there. And I feel like a lot of the best producers, look, to this day, And it's humbling that you asked to have me on. But to this day, there's still people I surround myself with that are incredibly impressive of how they get from point A to point B.
Oh, yeah. Hey, we're taking a quick break to thank you for listening to and supporting the Sales Lead Dog podcast. I want to take a moment and tell you about my book, CRM Shouldn't Suck. If your CRM feels more like a black hole for data than something that actually helps your team sell, you're not alone. The book breaks down why CRMs fail for so many businesses and what you can do about it. No fluff, just real strategies that work. So go to crmshouldn'tsuck.com to order your free copy right now. That's right, we're giving it away. And while you're there, take 2 minutes to check out the CRM Impact Score. It's a quick diagnostic that shows you how your CRM is really performing, where it's helping you and where it's hurting you. You'll get a personalized report with clear, actionable next steps you can start right away to maximize your CRM investment. We've also got blogs, videos, and a bunch of other resources to help you finally get the results you were promised when you bought your CRM. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes of Sales Lead Dog. Okay, let's get back to this episode of the Sales Lead Dog podcast. Yeah, I've heard, we've done almost 200 episodes. I've heard a lot of crazy stories about people with their early days in sales, from the old timers that, hey, I started selling encyclopedias door to door, copier sales, well, you name it. And it's a great way to learn. It was like you're saying, go door to door. You really have to get it dialed in and get focused and figure out what is it they really want or need, something that they may not even know about. Like, I love the pet store story. They're not even thinking about candles. Candles. I sell pets.
That was the ignorance of my youth, because today, one of my producers did that. I'm like, ask a question. Don't come in hot and tell a person their store smells. But there are things that you can get away with when you're that young.
Yeah.
And I would tell everyone, take advantage of that. Embrace the fact that you're young. The next generation expects you to put your foot in your mouth and make mistakes. Don't be afraid to be a little brash and just a little loosey-goosey and raw. You're supposed to be. That's what being young is about.
Oh, yeah, exactly. How did you get tapped for sales leadership?
Well, it's a good question. I never really had those kind of aspirations. Like, sales management is like a little bit different. Sales leadership, where you're kind of, that's a really good question. Until I arrived at NEP, I didn't have those kind of broader global type aspirations, but I'm typically very present, very in the moment. I don't really think more than 6 months ahead. It becomes distracting because time goes by so fast. But after spending time with these partners in this model, I'm seeing all these pieces, kind of like at the beginning where I said the also do. It was the also do. And I just had this crystal clear vision of where I saw this company in a few years. Now, I was a partner. I mean, I was in a leadership type role, but it wasn't defined. And I just saw this crystal clear vision for the first time in my career. I was drawn to the future, and that was the first time I was drawn to the future. I'm typically right now very present, not in a transactional way. It helps me as being a better listener just to stay present. And I just felt this company for anyone in our business, is a dream scenario for any producer, because there might only be 2 or 3 other companies in the entire country who literally do what we do. If you focus on not outsourcing, like what can you do internally with your own P&L? So I looked at it as, I brought in the guys and I said, the CEO protects the company. The COO runs the company. I manifest the company. My role is to go out there, tell the story, and manifest the future. And I just said it, and I'm usually not this passionate, not in a salesy way. I was very animated because I just saw it clear as day. With more visibility, national footprint, this is how we could do it while scaling our P&L, not to get too in the weeds on that. And it really resonated with them. And we are a managed services company. We're not an enrollment company. We're not a GA. We are a managed, your company is defined by your revenue. And look at our revenue. Yep. We are 7 different things. So we need a broader, and so that it drew me in for this company. And in the time I've been doing it, living on a plane, telling these stories, finding partnerships, and you start to realize quickly, and like competitors can become colleagues, and colleagues can become partners. And just because someone might be doing something very similar to you, as long as you just keep an open mind and just treat these people like, look, they're just running a business. It's not personal. They're not
Right.
coming after you, Ryan Goldberg, you, Chris Smith. It's not like that. So you keep an open mind and just learn to, again, the empathy, learn, be a student, and you just, people get drawn to you because there's so many egos and arrogance in any kind of sales business where they don't need anybody. You're the enemy. It's very like a zero sum game. And I just don't think that way. I think there's a lot of people that crave partnerships and want to grow and win. And they realize that it's gratifying to know that there's other people that feel the same way. They're going to be guarded until they could trust you, but accelerating trust isn't hard. I mean, I did a conversation earlier today about someone who said that. What's the difference between a personal relationship, professional relationship, a family relationship? Trust is trust. It's always means the same thing. Do you care? Do you care? Do you care? Are you shooting them straight and being honest with them? Or are you a good listener? Are you being responsive? Like, or are you only coming out when you need them? Trust is very easy to define. When you're sincere and genuine, and you actually show these people you're there for them, not just when you need them, it's pretty easy to earn their trust if you're a trustworthy person. If you're not a trustworthy person, then those things aren't as obvious to you.
So let's build on that. Describe for me the attributes of a great sales leader. What's at their core?
So you use the word empathy a lot. Patience. I think of the good sales leaders as like there's an empathy and they can relate to people. They have patience and understand that you want to get a person someplace. Don't get caught up in how they get there. Not everyone learns at the same pace, grows at the same pace. And I think if you focus more on like getting them there versus it has to get there a certain way, otherwise it's not as credible. So those leaders that can, again, say the same thing 12 different ways, teach the same person 12 different ways. Maybe someone doesn't need to be taught. Maybe they just need you to watch their back. So you have to have an identity to them and earn their trust and buy them. And the quickest way to do that is don't come in hot like the new sheriff in town. Talk to each one on one. Don't just have a sales call for everybody and just make some announcements, but they don't feel like you're accessible. So accessibility, empathy, patience, and we call them boardroom grinders. Like, can you be just as good like out on the street as you could in a meeting with the C-suite? It rhymes. It wasn't supposed to rhyme, but it just turns out that it rhymes. And like, I will go anywhere to meet with anybody. I mean, virtually at any time to help my people win. And then that to them shows if I'm willing to do that, then it gives them confidence to go out and take more risks because they know on a dime, someone will go out there to support them. And that's what it is, support. It's not training wheels. I think the worst sales managers, and I've learned this the hard way, you're a new rep, not a junior rep. Let's just say you're seasoned for the industry, you have experience, but you need to navigate your company. So their sales managers feel like, all right, we have to go see people right away and go to meetings, and they hold their hand too much. And I feel like it stunts their growth versus you already have relationships. You're already seasoned in this business. Don't sell anything for the first quarter. Like, ask questions, information gather. I need you to get comfortable getting a little bit out of your comfort zone. If I'm there too much, it's a natural for a sales manager to take over a meeting. Then you start to build this codependence.
Yeah.
You start to build it because the second you go away, take the training wheels off and hand it back to them, they're so used to you running everything. And a lot of these idiosyncrasies and micro expressions and things I might be reading, now they don't have the same result and they lose momentum. So it's always kinetic. Everything has to be kinetic and forward motion. And it's much better to start out slow, but moving forward and then come out. And then I start going out with these guys. And whether it's some great producers I have, one, where's she at? She's down in Texas, another one in California, another one in Colorado. But now I'm just helping to nudge things along. They practice the conversations. They practice identifying pain points, navigating. There's no objections because right. I'm like, there's nothing to sell yet. No PowerPoint. Right. I don't want to see a PowerPoint. Just these are already your relationships. Now we're going to go out there and we are going to help nudge them along. That's all I am. Nudge it along. Then you go back in and keep doing your thing. You won't see as much short-term reward in terms of activity and like results, but it's so much better. My dream scenario is to not be needed as like a sales leader or sales manager, that they're so self-sufficient. Now it can grow and scale and not have this codependence that they know how to take everything up to the finish line, but then I have to come in and close for them. And that is something that's not really non-traditional. A lot of organizations want it the handbook way, hire a new person, onboard, be out in market with them. But I think the best sales leaders know when to dial that back or dial it up depending on the person they bring on, and to not treat everyone the same way.
Yep. Tell me a story or a way that you leverage your own personal vulnerability to build trust and rapport with your team.
I think a big part of it is, so I have to have a balance. I have a very intense look to me. So anything I could do to make fun of, even the gold, right? So anything I could do to, I'll say, make fun of myself and still have a certain level of professionalism and seriousness. But I don't mind being the butt of a joke. I don't take myself that seriously. And to understand, take what I do very seriously, I don't take myself very seriously. So sometimes if I have to have a joke at my own expense just to break the ice, or a story where I got thrown out of a meeting or a door slammed in my face, I think, especially for me, and look, I'm not perfect. I think sales leaders, when C-suite, focus too much on perfection instead of, it's not, you're going to make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. And to try and be perfect, then you become disingenuous in stage. It's how you handle the mistakes and learn from them. That's why we're leaders. We're leaders because we're going to make the same mistakes as everyone else. But how are we going to learn from them? How are we going to minimize them? How are we going to respond to them when they do happen? And that's a big part of, I am not afraid to say I'm sorry or apologize in front of the whole team. I'm not afraid to make fun of myself in front of the whole team. And I think that developing that thick skin and that kind of goofiness is how I handle, because I know the way I look and speak. So if I'm like, all right, if I come off this intense professionally, what can I do to disarm them personally to show that I'm a human being, and I'm not afraid to laugh at my flaws. And it kind of breaks the ice of the room.
Yeah. I've been told, especially earlier in my career, not so much in this stage of my career, but earlier in my career, I was told by many people, like, dude, you seemed really upset in that meeting. Like, what are you talking about? I wasn't upset at all. And they're like, the look on your face, the whole meeting. I'm like, I was just deep in thought. I was just really focusing on what we're talking about. I'm like, I need a mirror, because apparently I'm giving off this vibe that Chris is just really just ticked off all the time. And so anyway, I kind of laugh when you're saying that, because it's like, yeah, I have to be aware of that and smile every once in a while. And like you say, crack a joke, just let people know, look, yeah, I'm not as intense as I may appear in the moment.
Yeah. There's too many people get different. Like my partners are the best, and we're all so different in so many ways, and we're all still getting to know each other. Yeah. And I want feedback. I could take it. I could take hard truths. And sometimes I have to take it more than I'm allowed to give it, because maybe I'm not, I don't know what the right word is, but it's just part of me being me. But they're all like great character. They all want to win. They all have different things in their head about how they get there. And sometimes we get a little frustrated with each other. But the biggest thing, and I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, but creative friction is so important.
Yeah.
Creative friction is so important. Like, you have to trust, whether it's your subordinates, your colleagues, your superiors, or just the leadership in general. When we have partner meetings, like, it's so much better for the maturation of your relationships if you embrace creative friction, because it forces you to say things in a critical but constructive way without getting deeply personal.
Right.
And it helps you understand where people are coming from and their motivations.
You read my mind. I actually was going to ask a question around that, in terms of how you handle that with your team, but also with your peers. Being part of the leadership team, being an effective sales leader, it's not just about your team. It's, you have to be part of the leadership team and operate at that level too, which takes a very different skill set a lot of the times.
Yeah, look, everyone is aligned on the future, but there's still elements of people, based on how they came up. And that's the thing. So you mentioned earlier, like encyclopedia sales. It's always hilarious.
Right.
Just hearing like encyclopedias, because most people, kids don't even know what an encyclopedia is.
No.
But when you bring someone on, were they a medical device where it was incredibly complex sales, longer sales cycles, really, really high ticket items. Like these are pacemakers and stints and things you're spending hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars on capital equipment, or are you selling copiers? More transactional, more volume. You got to grind. It's a completely different mindset. I've seen people that were incredibly successful selling copiers going into selling medical device, and they struggled because they wanted this immediacy. It's like they're going in, they want to close you, move on to the next thing, and it's very transactional. So understanding people's experience, like I've just gotten to a point where I love where things are going, and I'm obsessed with self improvement. And when other people are too, and you're getting there together and you're open about it, yeah, you have you're still going to make mistakes, and then you slap yourself when you do. And I think, but it sets good examples for the rest of the team, especially when you're one-on-one. So the one-on-one calls, there are a lot of group calls, and you juxtapose the two. You get so much more out of people when you're speaking to them one-on-one. It takes more time. It is time prohibitive, but the conversations and what you learn from these people, it's just so much worth it as a leader. Is it sustainable? When the organization gets too big, probably not. Depending on, I tell my CEO, he's the best. I go, once a year, you should speak to everybody. Like I know it's where we're going to have upwards of 100 employees, but it'd be great for you to have like a one-on-one call. You give everyone one day a year, and he loves it. He thinks about all this stuff because he really, really wants to be good at his job. He loves being the CEO. My other partner loves being the CEO. COO. So these people really love what they do, and they're obsessed. All of us are obsessed with self-improvement, which is, you feel like you're at that age where there are a bunch of us in our early 40s to mid 40s to maybe early 50s, and we still act like we're in college and we're students. If you listen to the way we talk, it's not like we've reached this apex. Right. It's just another level of a video game almost. It's like, all right, how do we get to the next, to the next, to the next? Maybe what perfection is so much fun to strive for because it's unattainable. So it's just this wild ride of how better can you get? And then you look back and you say, me 5 years ago wouldn't recognize this person. The me 10 years ago wouldn't recognize that person. But it's all still genuine. Yep. It's you still are who you are at a core. It's more just behavioral.
Yeah. And it always comes down to, it's for people, right? And we all have our strengths, our weaknesses, our baggage, our fears, our motivations, all coming from different places, but we still all have to find a way to work together and align the goals, the key initiatives, whatever it is that we're trying to do to move the needle for the business. That's what we do as leaders.
And which battle do you fight, right? You have to pick your battles. You can't win every battle. Some battles it's not even worth fighting. Some it's worth fighting just so you can make your opinion known, but the compromise is a big part of it. And some people, back to the early part of the conversation with aligning with other businesses, just some people really struggle with compromise.
Oh yeah. That's something that I learned a long time ago, that people really get wrapped up in the emotion of things. And it was, I think, one of the most useful skills for me to develop was recognizing that in people, and how do we get them out of their emotion to where they feel safe to be able to willing to compromise. A lot of people, when they're digging in their heels, it's not about what they're digging in the heels on. It's usually something else. And if I can find that, I might be able to get some leeway, get some movement to where maybe we can find some common ground. And there's all kinds of techniques and things that you can use. That's one of those things I'm kind of fascinated with. But we're all people. We're all trying to get somewhere. And so it's just trying to understand what their true motivations are, and what are the specific outcomes they're looking for. It helps so much to be able to, as you're saying, build that. And it comes from empathy, having an ability to develop some empathy for their position that may allow you to compromise. It always comes back to the same thing. So, or a lot of the same things. Goldie, shifty topics a little bit. CRM, do you love it or do you hate it?
It's a funny way you phrase that, because I feel like you have to deal with it no matter how you feel about it. I think I think they're incredibly important in the sales world. I mean, it should be the right way to say it. When it comes to, for a producer, it should be their diary. Like, I can't think of anything more important for a producer than their CRM. Especially the longer it's your archive, it's your history, it's everything. And then to be able to then take and help it analyze patterns. Yes. So the more, I think it's the self-reporting that drives producers crazy, because they just want to sell and anything that has to do with administration.
Yep.
but the best ones enforced adoption. It gets first. The hate is having to force adoption. The love is being able to then see the results of that adoption. How do you effectively run? How do all the different departments collaborate with each other on business if we're not looking at the same information in the same format at the same time? And we can't be sharing spreadsheets and Word docs and emails. It's just not sustainable. So I love when they're deployed correctly and people are trained on them. And sometimes I'd say we don't have a CRM, don't even start sharing activity or anything, because you have an opportunity window to train producers on a behavior. I mean, you get them to do something in the short term and then have them to switch again, they're going to lose their mind. Yeah. So the love is being able to how effective you can manage, like scaling resources, everything. Everything is like, once you have all that data in the system, where do we need to shift resources, budget, and how do you forecast? I don't even know how you forecast for that CRM.
Not well. I was at a conference. I talk about this quite a bit. I was at a conference. I was talking to VP sales of $1 billion company. And I asked that question. I'm like, how are you forecasting? How's it working for you? He's like, you want to see my forecast? He pulled out his phone and showed me an Excel spreadsheet. Oh, going like, our CRM is horrible. I can't use it to do any of this. I live in Excel. I'm an Excel jockey. It shouldn't be that way. Why do you think so many companies still struggle with CRM?
I think just technology in general, and they're kind of segues to AI. It's when you're doing something a certain way for so long, it's less focused on upside and more focused on downside. So anything that could be disruptive, even if it's for a short period of time, freaks people out.
Yeah.
I see that and every business to some degree sees a level of that analog nature of people, because they're still working and they're still growing. So sometimes businesses have to hit rock bottom or be in some dire situation for them to have this epiphany, this moment. And that's the hardest part. So when CRM or anything that falls into that bucket, getting them to struggle and switch, especially when it's tied to other software and systems, and they realize maybe we should have uncoupled these a long time ago and not have them tethered together, because now it's too hard to move from it. But I mean, we were talking about this recently because everything is AI now. And it's like, how would we use it? Where do you start with it? AI and CRMs? And I just think of, where can you scale and grow the quickest without sacrificing effectiveness?
Yes.
And go to your directors. I would go to my directors and then prioritize them back into it from there, because I understand short-term disruption doesn't mean you're sacrificing effectiveness. It just means it's a disruption in behavior. So you make people a little uncomfortable. But to the outside world, would they even know the difference? Right. So that's short-term pain internally if it doesn't sacrifice effectiveness. And sometimes you might have clients that say, what? We've been with you so long, we trust you. We're okay. If this is going to help, if the next 3 months of maybe headaches or disruption will make the next 3 years that much better, then we're all in. And I think that's where having that trust with your clients and that transparency with your clients and the empathy goes a long way, where most of them would say, yeah. So you have to work a little bit harder, be a little more responsive, because of that, maybe they short-term pain, and maybe the pain isn't as bad as you think it'll be.
Exactly. Goldie, we're at our time here on Sales Lead Dog. It always goes by so fast. I really appreciate you coming on the show. If people want to reach out and connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Thank you. No, this has been great. I'd say just LinkedIn is the perfect place to start, and message me, and I'm happy to connect from there.
Perfect. So if you don't have Goldie's link to LinkedIn, don't worry about it. We have it in our show notes. You can get that at impellercrm.com/Sales Lead Dog. We get not only this episode, but close to 200 episodes now of Sales Lead Dog. Be sure to check that out. Be sure to subscribe so you get all our future podcasts. Be sure to connect with Goldie on LinkedIn. Goldie, thank you so much again for coming on Sales Lead Dog, and welcome to the Sales Lead Dog Pack.
Thank you, Chris.
As we end this discussion on Sales Lead Dog, be sure to subscribe to catch all our episodes. On social media, follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Watch the videos on YouTube, and you can also find our episodes on our website at impellercrm.com/Sales Lead Dog. Sales Lead Dog is supported by Impeller CRM, delivering objectively better CRM for business, guaranteed.